All right. Well, we have a great panel here, and I think the only one I'd like to ask a special question to is we haven't heard anything from Chevron, and I'd like to ask Ed just to make a couple of comments about what can you say that on this topic that you would like to comment in terms of how Chevron's dealing with this transition.
All right. Oh, thank you, Dick. Well, as Dick mentioned, I'm in the cybersecurity side of the house, and so we have an entirely different challenge. From what the speakers have talked about, it's all about functionality, and I can agree with that. We're all about getting the best functionality, the optimum performance out of their systems and out of the people. But then we also have to do that in a new environment where there's a lot of those, Jen, I don't know what they are, that are out there trying to break our systems by hacking them. So we have to consider that as a necessary part of our strategies. And we have to put it into our workforce to be able to make our systems not only more reliable, but more resilient against cyber attack. So it takes a special kind of workforce to be able to do that. And actually, it takes, what put us there was new technologies in the information side, migrating down into the automation systems. They're familiar to information technology folks, the business folks, but they're fairly new in our marketplace for automation. And so it takes skill sets that are familiar with the IT folks, but not quite as familiar with the automation folks. And it takes collaboration between folks that really know the automation systems with folks that really know IT systems. So it really takes people with either a split personality or people that know how to collaborate, and I think I would choose the latter. So we're really talking about a dual workforce coming out of our schools, and how we train people to communicate their skill sets in each of these areas to come up with a common solution.
Thank you, Ed. Sounds like they're fitting in. The new workforce, the new generation is fitting into this strategy. All right.
Yes, they're fitting in. I will say this: it's we talked about the digital mindset or the digital engineer, and that's all well and good. But I still see going forward, we're going to have those two technologies, the automation technologies and the commercial off-the-shelf IT technologies, taking parallel paths and not converging, because each one of them are growing, being driven by two different marketplaces. Mm-hmm. So it's still going to take two people keeping up with those areas of expertise. You can't grow it into one person, but it's a lot easier to assimilate some of the younger folks into those areas. But again, they need to learn how to talk to each other and listen to each other.
Yes, I know they know how to text to each other. Do they know how to talk to each other? But anyway, I digress. Peter Zornio, I think Brooke did a nice job of outlining some of Emerson's technologies that they're adopting. Tell me a little bit about what Emerson is doing to help not just your customer, but yourself in terms of dealing with the transition to new workers.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Dick. There was a lot of discussion this morning about kind of this knowledge crisis or this experienced worker crisis. One of the things that I don't think was discussed is really when you look at the workforce, at least in the U.S. and Western Europe, as the baby boomers retire, what's making the problem especially acute is there's kind of a big hole of Generation Xers, kind of the 15-year experience kind of people that's not there to fill in. Normally, the natural progression would be that these people be filling in. But if you look at the timing, that was really during a period of not a lot of hiring by companies such as us, and I think everyone in the room, of new college grads. If you look back, at least I know when I was hired, I was part of a big wave of new college grads that, were hired en masse, and the idea was, okay, we're just going to train these guys and grow them, and we'll have a new set of resources. That didn't happen so much about 15, 20 years ago. That was during the period of a lot of outsourcing and a lot of automation folks, especially being hired in best cost centers. So one of the things that does is it, of course, makes those group of folks a very scarce resource. And one of the things that wasn't talked about, I don't think, was like the old joke about avoiding being eaten by the bear. You don't have to run faster than the bear, you just have to run faster than the guy next to you. So just like holding on to these people, retention and being able to attract them from each other, frankly, is going to become an increasingly hot topic for all of us. We're all going to be scrambling over what's left or what we have for resources here. So we've actually put in a whole specialized, and I think that was mentioned by you, Dick, in the beginning, some special programs around retaining the people that we have that are in that sort of 15, 20-year experience band. Key contributor programs, very specific mentoring programs, because that's a big deal, as you mentioned, from a psyche point of view. So that's some things we've done specifically in the area of retention. The other thing I would mention is, and I don't think it was talked about this morning, is internships and apprentices. I mean, I think we'd all would like to think that we're going to make our industry attractive to new college grads, or that the education system is going to produce more people that are appealing. But I just don't see us making the automation industry as attractive as working on the next version of Halo, or going to work for Facebook and getting a boatload of stock options that you think are going to be worth a fortune. So how do you counter that? Well, what we've done is apprenticeships and internships. Get students that are in college, bring them in, have them work for a summer, let them see what we do, let them feel like they're part of the community already, and then you have a great set of folks that already have some level of training, to hire when they come out, when they do graduate, and they have a more natural proclivity to go to work for you. And I don't think that was talked about as much, and it can cost you money, because generally you're making an investment in these students, but it's kind of the only way this problem is going to, in my opinion, one of the most effective ways this problem will get solved, because it's a very direct way to go tackle the problem and try to get some more experienced folks.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question about that, though? Sorry.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
So in doing that, do you intend to hire, a few each year to maintain that pipeline? Because, obviously you've got a gap, and, we hire a few, and great, we're going to stop hiring again.
No, we actually have made a very specific, looking at what's happened, over the past years, we said, okay, we're not going to do that again. So we have a very specific number we hire every year, and I think the apprenticeship program does a couple of things. One, it gets them interested in coming to work for us. Two, it's much better than any interview you can come up with. I frankly, not to their face, but I call it the try before buy program. So you're getting very qualified folks and ones that are going to fit in. And no, we very specifically have kind of done a bit of an about face on staffing up some of our engineering development and engineering teams in the U.S. as opposed to some of the other global areas.
Let me ask you the same question, Maurice. I know that Yokogawa is a big global company, and Mike did a nice job talking about Exapilot and how that's helping them improve their productivity. What about your corporate view of people and how you're helping them?
Well, it's the same kind of thing, really. I mean, there's a lot of older people in the industry, and how do we make what we do attractive to younger people? I think Kaihori-san said this morning we have technology fairs where we get younger engineers involved in some of the future, some of the things we do in the future. And one of the reasons that we're close with FRI is that they're attached to OSU, and OSU has a very strong chemical engineering program, and we see that as a relationship that we're going to strengthen and go forward with. We spend a lot of time up there working with these guys. But I also, I personally think that we do have to bring things like apprenticeships back, because, when I was going through college, there were two ways of doing it. You either got a degree and went in that way, and even doing a degree, you had work release. Okay. And people like technicians came in through an apprenticeship scheme, and then some of them went on to do degrees, and I think we need to bring that back, and I heard that this morning, a couple of people saying that. And the other one is going out and meeting younger engineers. And one of the things that I try to do is get involved with universities, get involved with schools, and that kind of thing, just to make people, make the younger people believe that what we do isn't boring. It's fun, some of the stuff we do. And trying to convince those guys that an engineering career is a good career.
Right. Let me ask the room, just for a show of hands, how many in the room have been recently hiring millennials? Anyone? Okay, pretty much, I'd say 90%. Are you getting them all from universities, or are you bringing them through apprentice programs, or how are you, universities? Apprentice programs? Right out of high school? Actually, this whole education system that we have in the U.S. is a bit of a challenge, because a lot of young people are looking at going to colleges, and they're going to be very much in debt. So I think apprentice programs might be an answer to get some good technical qualified people. Let me ask the audience, do you have any questions for the panel? Does anybody have a question? Right there, Sal.
Hi, Jack Audie from OSI Soft. I have a question. With all of these dotted lines and the dotted line management, managing these dotted lines, how do you implement a standard, and how do you police this or encourage the adoption of a standard across multiple sites?
Within our company...
Yeah, it'll just come on.
Is it there?
Sure.
Within our company, as a part of our global modernization program, we have also set up a global management program to watch over our modernization programs and the projects. Are they delivering what we've told our board of directors that we expect in terms of, financial return on these? And so it kind of comes down to the same thing with the global standards. And enforcement of them is that it's come down from the high level. We work with Emerson and our LBPs to let them know we have these global standards. They are to be implemented. And I think because we have good people, conscientious people, they know they go back to the gatekeeper if there's any changes that they want to make. And we've had to turn some down. We've had to accept some. And that makes them happy or not happy sometimes, but they also understand it's a corporate initiative. And should our division president go in there and not see what he's expecting to see in terms of, say, human-centered design graphics, they're using a completely wrong color scheme. They don't want to be the ones found out that, president's coming through and this is not what's supposed to be there. That's not going to go over well, and they know that. So having the global program management in place to manage these things is how we do it in my company.
Okay. Good. Question over here?
Hi, Lee Richards, Owens Corning. So Brooke and Michael, you talked a fair bit about the people side of the equation and knowledge and how to address that knowledge leaving the organization. And you also addressed, Michael, attitude, which I tend to agree with is a pretty important facet. I had a question around the gut feel and experience side of the equation, which is more difficult to get without spending the time to gain that gut feel experience. Have you considered, and this is to the panel, using sort of big data and analytics, pattern recognition in your existing historian, whatever databases you have, to mine and try to compensate for the loss of this gut feel? So for example, Netflix, in the old days, when my wife used to watch movies, she would get recommendations from friends, and now she doesn't, she still does that, but she doesn't need to do only that. Netflix will actually do pattern recognition on all other people that have watched the same kind of movies as her and suggest, 3-4 movies. So is that something that you guys have thought about from a big data perspective?
Michael?
And data mining.
Good question. Michael?
That sounds like a great idea. The only thing that we have done is when we interview candidates, you will find candidates from colleges and two-year colleges that didn't do anything during the summer, as opposed to people who worked at Walmart during the summer, worked at a fishing store. And what we have found is that the college graduates, including the two-year graduates, who did have work experience like that, did tend to have a better gut feel for things when you actually put them in the control room. And but I'm intrigued by your idea.
Ed, any thoughts on?
I have a number of things I can talk about. Unstructured information management, big data mining, and all. But as far as the workforce, it is interesting. I do believe that that the comment about the attitude, I've always felt like attitude over aptitude. You can get the aptitude if you've got someone that's got the attitude, and so that's a key thing there. It's about passion. I love someone that's passionate about their work, and you can take that and grow it. So, but to your point about the big data, be careful. We're doing a lot of big data work at Chevron, and the temptation to use pieces of information that you gather through Google and all is great, but it's ephemeral, because you don't know if that information or that data point is going to go away. So we're putting a lot of effort into publish and subscribe as we go forward, so that we can assure that if the owner of that data knows, if he publishes it, he knows who's subscribing to it. So if he ever makes a change, he can tell the subscriber, I'm changing the range, I'm changing what I'm doing with this, so that the report isn't invalidated. So that's
Okay.
something to be cautious with.
Anyone else want to comment about analyzing big data for pattern recognition? Brooke?
We've looked at the pattern recognition, but where we're at in our projects right now, we're looking at just getting through and getting updated first and adding in some of those enhancements. But that is one of the next things that we're definitely interested in, because we do see the benefit of how people relate to the data better than just seeing a number, but seeing the patterns, like you say, and seeing the I guess the graphical versus just a number, that there is significance in how they can operate and maintain the plant in that.
Thank you.
Just
Go ahead,
one
Peter.
last comment, which is we have a session on
Okay.
data analytics. I think it's at 10:30 tomorrow, track 1 or
Okay.
something like that. So
Good commercial. Thank you.
you can $20 later.
Be there.